And I just was, I said, no, I can make it work. I'll do it. And it did well and did great for a while, but it beat me down and it wore me out. And I have all the respect in the world now for fast food workers.
Matt Woolley Podcast.
All right, so our guest today is Tom Allen. Number one, first and foremost, it means a lot that you're here. I know you're a busy man, so thank you for being here, Tom.
Honor and privilege. Thanks for having me.
It's great. So, not everybody knows who you are. So, we're going to kind of give them a nice outline. So, you tell me if I'm missing anything.
All right.
So, who is Tom Allen? Tom Allen is a Christian husband and father, U of A graduate, Justice of the Peace, president of Cushman Wakefield Partners, who also represents Hunt Ventures. Have I missed anything?
No, and I forgot to tell you that I retired from being a Justice of the Peace.
No longer?
I was for 22 years.
22 years?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just start with that for a second, and then we'll backtrack. So, why a Justice of the Peace? And what was the craziest Justice of the Peace story, if you can share?
Well, it's easier to ignore that last question. But no, I was first a city councilman in Rogers for 4 years.
Okay.
And did not run for re-election in 2000. I thought my career in politics at that point was going to be over.
Mm-hmm.
And then a vacancy came up on the Benton County Quorum Court. And I happened to live in the district, and I was only out of office serving as a city councilman for a few months, and somebody recommended me. And at that time, Governor Huckabee appointed me to fill the unexpired term
that's awesome.
on the Quorum Court. And you're not supposed to be able to run for re-election for anything you're appointed to by the governor.
Mm-hmm.
But because they redistricted in the year 2000 because of the census, it became officially a new district. And so I was able to run for re-election and
You had the exception.
served, had the exception and served for roughly 20 years more on the Quorum Court representing, at that point, Southwest Rogers and Cave Springs and the Pinnacle area.
So you're a very involved man, obviously. So, I mean, did you do that just for the need to, feel like to do your civic duty, man of the people kind of thing?
I'm very active locally with church and with civic activities in the community, family, business, Chamber of Commerce, all that. I think it's good to have a voice. Mm-hmm. There are too many people, in my opinion, that like to complain about things but don't get involved and do anything about it. And so I've been one to run and be a part of, whether you win your election or lose the election or be engaged or something. So, and I've always had a knack of liking politics, but I'm not going to go on a level of national or state level. So local politics was a perfect opportunity for me to get involved and to serve my community, serve our constituents, serve the area. And I enjoyed it. I just enjoy the process of being in government. And so I stayed with it for quite a while until finally, after 20 years or so, you finally learn that I need to spend more time with my family, dedicate more time to my business, and then see what else is out there. And then I'm glad that other people have stepped up and are running in that position. There's a fine person in there now that is probably a lot better than I am.
That's awesome. Well, that's one thing I can say for our elected officials is that knowing several of them, it's people just don't realize the time that it takes.
It does.
The phone calls, the emails, the boards that you're on, and the solves that you're asked to solve. It's just the problems are in abundance.
I will tell you get more criticisms than you do accolades.
I bet.
And for the pay, you don't do it for the glory or the fame, because that's not what you get. You really need to do it for serving. If you have a servant heart and you care about the community and the government itself, whether it be city or county or whatever level it may be, you got to go into it as a mindset. It's not about you. It's not a selfish thing. It's about really giving back and serving. Many people are not cut out for that. Many people, good friends of mine, serve the community in other ways, which is tremendous. I just happen to have a knack for liking politics. So I served in politics at that level for a long time because I enjoyed it and was able to commit to it because I did like it. Now, if you don't like it, don't do it.
No, and not doing helping anybody.
But there's a lot of hours of emails and criticisms on, you name it out there. And we did get some positive comments from people and things like that. But knowing that you're doing something for the community, and many times you've got to step up and do something that is going to be contrary to what the popular vote is. And it shows just leadership to be able to do that. And at the end of the day, I realize that Tom Allen's one person and one vote on either the city council or on the quorum court. And you got to go with what the majority wants to do. And you can't get mad about it. You just need to go along. No, that's the process. And that's what makes it a great process is the majority rules.
So you have a servant's heart then, obviously. But at times, obviously, it had to be disheartening. So in regards to that, did you ever find yourself, I'm sure you found yourself in a position like, what did I get myself into? More times than you probably wanted, right?
Oh, yeah. It's like with your job, even with your family, but certainly on the quorum court and city council, there are many votes and many issues that come about that you like, I wish I didn't have to deal with this. There is no good answer. Nobody's going to like either way you go. And I have wondered, how did I get myself into some of these things? But, for the most part, and people will get mad and they'll say some pretty offensive comments to you.
Knowing you and knowing your personality, I know you've got tough skin, but I mean, I'm sure that has to sting a little. Oh
yeah, just like you, Matt. I can pretend it doesn't affect me, and I can on the outside you can think that it hasn't swayed me one bit. On the inside, I'm always checking myself, going, "Am I right? Am I wrong? Did I offend that person, or that really hurt my feelings?" I do have feelings like everybody else. Some people are better at hiding those feelings than others, and I've been around long enough to know that we're going to get those comments, and we're going to be offended, and the world is not about me, so I can't cry. It's not fair because everything's fair.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's go back a little bit. Where are you from, Tom? And how did you get here?
Well, you'll have to ask my parents that. I've never asked them that question. Oh, anyway. I was born in Oklahoma City.
Okay.
And my family, prior to me, as far as being alive, they're all from Oklahoma roots. Except my older brother was born in Fort Worth, Texas. My dad was in the Air Force and then went to the pipeline business with Conoco Oil and traveled around the country.
Oh, wow.
I happened to be in Oklahoma when I was born, and then my dad started a jobber company as a Conoco Oil jobber.
What's that?
That's where you basically are a wholesaler. You contract with the Conoco Oil Company at the time, and then he would sell to all the different service stations throughout half the state of Arkansas. And so he did that in Russellville. So Russellville is where I grew up. I started
I did not know
Russellville, Arkansas, Crimson Cyclone, on the football team, baseball team, and I don't know why I was on the track team because I was really slow, but I was out there. And I think that's really all the sports I did. But grew up in Russellville, 18 years, kindergarten,
that's
all the way through high school. Saw some changes there. Russellville's a great town. You couldn't ask for a better town to grow up in. Good location. We did spend 1 year. My dad took us out to Virginia in the 5th grade, and I lived in Smithfield, Virginia, Smithfield Hams. He managed and ran that complex for ITT Corporation. So we lived in Smithfield, Virginia for my 5th grade year. And so I'm born in Oklahoma, raised in Arkansas, grew up in Russellville. My dad then went to work in government and in Little Rock, but he commuted from Russellville to Little Rock every day.
What did he do?
He was director of building services under Governor Bumpers, and then he was same thing under David Pryor.
Oh.
And then after that, the poultry industry recruited him to be the director of the Arkansas Poultry Federation. So he was a lobbyist and director for that special interest group of poultry there.
That's awesome.
For many years. And so when I graduated high school, I was the last of three kids.
So you're the baby?
I'm the baby. And I still get introduced that way by my 93-year-old dad. Yeah. And then, at 61, I'm okay with that. But when I graduated from high school, my parents moved to Little Rock in 1980. I'm dating myself here. And so I went to college, U of A, as you mentioned in the intro. When that happened, so my home away from home, so to speak, was in Little Rock. So I didn't grow up in Little Rock, but my parents had lived there ever since. So that's my secondary home is Little Rock.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then I moved up here, if you want me to follow through.
Yeah, absolutely. Please.
Moved up here in Rogers in 1994, opened up a couple of restaurants, a gas station. You didn't know that about me, did you? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had a Backyard Burgers franchise.
Did you really?
Yeah, sure did. We'll never do that again. That was hard work, let me tell you.
Well, hang on. Let's put on the brakes just for a second. Why did we get into Backyard Burgers? Which it was a great place at the time. At the time, I don't know if it still exists. I remember the one in Fayetteville.
Yeah.
And it was a good burger. At the time, it was a little higher tiered burger compared to some of the other joints. But you made up for it in the taste, and that was
the problem. It was a really quality product that they were trying to make it fast food. You just couldn't keep up with the drive-through. 60 seconds, get those burgers out. It's not like you can.
So why burgers, Tom?
I was in Little Rock, and an acquaintance. I can't really say he was a friend, but an acquaintance of mine opened up all the Little Rock Backyard Burgers, and then he did Conway, and then he was making a good living, doing really well, and I have always had the entrepreneurial bug. You can identify with that.
Yeah.
And we just in a conversation, he and I had one day, he just said, Northwest Arkansas is growing like crazy, and there's not any of these up there. Hey, why don't you just go up there? And I thought, that's a crazy idea, but you know what? Hey, why not?
Why not?
And I always thought on many things I do in life, I always think, what are you going to do one day when you're old and you think, I wish I'd have done that. So I did one of those, I wish I'd have done that. I just did it. And people were trying to tell me, you don't want to do the restaurant business. It's hard. It's, most of them don't make it and things like that. And I just was, I said, no, I can make it work. I'll do it. And it did well and did great for a while, but it beat me down and it wore me out. And I have all the respect in the world now for fast food workers. Let me tell you, it is not an easy job, and they get ridiculed too much. But they have to be able to read screens and read orders in a matter of minutes.
Yeah, microseconds. Yeah,
they have to customize every one of them, and it does seem simple if you're doing one of those. If you're sitting at your desk behind a computer and picking that out. But when you're standing on your feet and you see an order up there and you got to get it done in a matter of seconds, and then there's one right behind it, and one right behind it, one right behind it, the repetition that you go through, these people, it's hard on these people. And
so you're understanding when your order gets messed up.
I understand it. And there's IT problems. They have computers that they rely on, and we have IT problems in our offices. Well, they have them in the restaurants too.
Yeah.
And so it's a business, and I have all the respect in the world for the managers and employees of those restaurants. So it was a great learning experience. I tell you, it was another education. It was a degree that you get. You don't get a certificate for that, but you learn. And I also learned that I really I don't want to be in a restaurant business. And I'd much rather be a real estate developer, owner, putting them in as a tenant than I would rather actually own the restaurant and let somebody else put that product out there.
Yeah, just enjoy the results, right?
That's right.
Okay, so you decided I'm out of burgers. What was the next step?
I went to work. That's when I got into real estate. I went to work at Walmart and went to work in their real estate department and learned corporate real estate. I did.
How was that kind of a jump?
Well, I had some friends. Huh?
Did you have any knowledge? Or?
Well, I had knowledge just from selecting real estate for my business.
Right.
But it was something that I was really interested in learning and becoming. And then I had some friends that were in the business at Walmart and real estate that were close friends. And so they encouraged me and they would give me information. And so I just applied and knew some people there. And and got the job and learned the business and learned corporate, really. I mean, that's as corporate as you're going to get, that size of what they do. And I did everything from selling the outlots and excess land around the Walmarts and Supercenters and neighborhood markets and Sam's Clubs to finding sites for the new units, for the new stores of various different states. And that was really a tough job. And then also leased up their vacant stores and sold their vacant stores. Their dark stores is what we called them.
Did this keep you all over the country, I'm assuming?
Yeah. The only part that I did
you have a family at this time?
I had a family. That's kind of why I ended up not staying there. In some capacity, in one of those 3 jobs, I worked in every state, from Minnesota down south to Louisiana and then over to the East Coast. So I got to see a lot of different part of the country, and got to be familiar with a lot of small towns and all of those areas. People go, oh, you don't know where I'm from. I'm from such and such. And Tennessee, I go, oh, yeah, they got a Walmart there. I've been there. And I didn't get the pleasure of operating west. I love the western part of the country, just the way the geography is, but I didn't get to work that part of it. But anyway, that job was fun. It taught me an awful lot. I met a lot of wonderful people there. I got to work under the old regime of David Glass, Lee Scott, Mike Duke, Don Soderquist, Tom Coughlin, you name all those folks. And some others I'm leaving out, but Paul Carter. There was not a better management team in America as far as the number of people there. And so I learned a lot from them, and then the Tony Fillers of the world and Scott Greer, people I worked for, just really poured a lot into me, so I learned a lot. But traveling in real estate, you were gone quite a bit. My children were in elementary school, and I just had the opportunity to come where I'm at now, basically, and not travel hardly at all. And so I chose to step away from that and get into where I'm at now, because I traveled out a few conferences and a few things like that. But I got to see my children and my wife at school events and other things more than I probably would have because I was always on the road.
Absolutely. So that was obviously the determining factor.
It was the biggest factor.
Yeah. That's awesome. Okay, so let's make the transition from there. So you're on the Walmart team, and then you decide, I'm going to do something else. It was because of family. So what was that something else, and how long did you do it?
Well, that's where I'm at now, basically.
That's it?
Yeah.
So so how many years is that now?
18. I left in 06 at Walmart.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I think that's 18 if I do the math right, but yeah. So I left there, and at the time, what I went to was the Pinnacle Group.
Oh, okay. See, because I remember at one time you had kind of given me a little bit of your background. That's why I was assuming that. Okay, I got you. Okay.
So I did that, and the Pinnacle Group was Bill Schweihart, Mr. Hunt, and Tim Graham, and a few others as well. Those were the 3 most prominent names that people associated with.
What was Mr. Hunt like?
He was bigger than life, and just positive, a lot of fun. Wasn't afraid of any risk, and building people up. He didn't want to talk bad about anybody, and he knew he was blessed, and wasn't afraid to share with anybody else. But he was a great man, a great leader, a great visionary, which we can get to that later. But he just was a wonderful man, and his widow, his wife, he left us too soon with a tragic fall. But his wife is who I work for now, basically, is my biggest client and partner. And she is just as wonderful in many different ways, but many same ways. She was more detailed, and she would pick up the pieces. She was the yin. She didn't quite have the risk. She wasn't as eager to take on the risk as much as he was, and she certainly would take the risk. But you never dared him to do something because he'd do it.
That's awesome.
Nothing was too big for Mr. Hunt. And then Mrs. Hunt's been wonderful. She is just both of them are great Christian men and women, and just have been blessed to be associated with them.
I've had the opportunity to meet Mrs. Hunt a couple of times, and passing once was with you. And She just comes off as just a beam of light. She just seems to be just full of positivity and sweetness. I don't know how to describe it, but it's kind of to me, she's kind of I don't know the word I'm looking for, but she's a gem in the fact that she is such a strong business leader and innovator for business.
She is,
but still has this humility that you don't see a lot, and then that's just fantastic.
She always passes the praise on to somebody else, but she'll never take the credit for what she truly deserves. But she is a sharp businesswoman. She really understands it, and she'll always praise me or somebody else first. And I always deflect going, you're the reason. You're the one that does this. And she's very smart. Mr. Hunt was as well. But she understands the details. And let me tell you today, she's still very involved, and she still knows what's going on. And she cares very, very much about what is going on with all her different businesses that she's in. But the thing that strikes me is that she's fair with everybody.
That's awesome.
And that she does the right thing. And she'll always look at what's the right thing. Is it moral? Is it just? And if there's any way that she might be involved with a legal decision or something where she might prevail, but it's not the right thing to do, she's not going to do it. That's taught me a big lesson as far as it's not always about the mighty dollar. It's always about, can you lay your head down on your pillow at night and can you look up to the Lord and say, I had a good day and I hope I made you proud today.
This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Design Steins. Since 2010, Design Steins has assisted brands and suppliers with branding, packaging, displays, engineering, photography, video, and trade shows for retail. Design Steins provides your brands with the retail power to make the sell. Go to designsteins.com, that's DESIGNSTEINS.com, to learn how they can help your brands go next level. Designsteins.com. Your brands, your goals, your success. This podcast is brought to you by the Grove Comedy Club in Northwest Arkansas. The Grove Comedy Club is Northwest Arkansas's premium spot for national comedic acts all year long. Go to grovecomedy.com, get your tickets, then come grab a beer, grab some food, and get ready to laugh. And remember, comedy is at the Grove. This podcast brought to you by Accelero. Accelero is a leading provider of cybersecurity and managed IT services in the state of Arkansas. Frustrated with your current IT provider? Let the team at Accelero provide you quicker service, better pricing, and continual support for all your IT needs. Go to Accelero.com, that's XCCELERO.com, and experience secure and seamless IT services for your business.
How did that getting into Hunt? Where was the connection? Is it happenstance getting into Hunt?
Well, so they were part of the Pinnacle Group.
Yeah.
And then there was, then time went on, and the portfolio that they were developing, managing, leasing, all that grew.
Okay.
And then, I forgot what year it was, but it's not too many years after I was there, there was a split, a division, and it was, it was fine. And so Mrs. Hunt was amicable with Bill, and Bill, so they split.
Mm-hmm.
And so Bill kept the name, I think he kept the Pinnacle Group, I can't remember, but it had some form of that name in it. And so at that point we changed to Hunt Ventures.
Okay.
Because it was just the Hunt family. It was nobody really else involved with it. So that became Hunt Ventures, and that's where I was there. Mm-hmm. And then we've just grown that with others. Tim Graham was still involved significantly. John George was involved significantly there, and then myself and a few others that I'm not naming, and I should. But and then eventually some of them have stepped aside and are no longer there, and we've just grown. And we got to the point to where Mrs. Hunt and Ken Sheeman and I were looking, and with some of her attorneys and other advisors, we're like, we're going to have to hire more people, or we're going to have to do something different.
Mm.
And so at that point, I was over just the real estate services side of Hunt Ventures. They have interest in other industries that I'm not going to mention, but many people know about it, many don't. But that's just one aspect of it. And So we were analyzing whether we hire additional people to properly manage the properties, to properly have the proper accounting staff, and so leasing assistant as well in development. And so that would involve bringing more people on board.
Mm-hmm.
The other was to find a company that we hire as a third party to do all that for us and report to me, and then eventually end up to Mrs. Hunt as well. Well, lo and behold, at that point in time, I got to talking with the folks at Sage Partners. Okay. And then what evolved, long story short, talking to Alex Blass, to Marshall Savers, Brian Shaw, TJ Leffler, Tommy Van Zant, Mark Savers, and others involved at that time. What we ended up doing was, as opposed to us hiring them as our agent, we merged Mrs. Hunt's asset services side, not the actual asset, but the services side. We merged that into what was Sage Partners then, and then along with Gus Blass and Alex Blass, they have properties in Little Rock. So the three of us came together and formed a new company in August of 2016, but we kept the name Sage Partners because it made sense. It already had a name out there. We didn't want to confuse the public, so we kept that name. So those three companies came together into what is today. And so I left employment legally with Hunt Ventures and became a partner with the new Sage Partners. And at that time was executive vice president. Today I'm president. And then Mrs. Hunt became a partner in the new Sage Partners, as did the Blast family, and then all the other original Sage people were partners. So that's where I'm at today as president of Sage Partners. And Marshall Savers is the CEO. We have a board of directors of several people that we all report to on the board. And we manage and lease and develop all the Hunt. And that's what I'm responsible for, is the Hunt portfolio, which has grown significantly, as you can see, around this area.
We'll get to that in a second.
Yeah. So that's what I'm doing today is I manage the Hunt account, have a team there, and then report to Mrs. Hunt and Ken Sheeman there, and certainly work with her attorneys in Little Rock here and there, and some other great people in the organization of Hunt Ventures as well. And then also work with all of my fellow associates and employees and partners at Sage Partners on many other accounts and things, and it's been a blast. It's been fast, and we've grown quite a bit, but blessed to be in Northwest Arkansas.
Oh, absolutely. Well, there's been times where I have referred to you over some of the tidbits that you've given me over the years, and there's they either know you or they don't. But if they don't know you, they say, "Why does that name sound familiar?" And I was like, "Well, it might be the fact that it's on just about every piece of property in Uptown Rogers area in Abraham." So let's talk about that real quick. Did you have any idea? I mean, surely I know that everybody understands Northwest Arkansas was growing, but let's just talk about the particular area that we sit in right now. The Design Stein's building's right across the street from Mrs. Hunt's building. When we came here, what was it, 7-8 years ago originally? It was, there's a few things, but not like it. Was the vision always for this, or was it?
Well, I like to joke around with my partners and Mrs. Hunt particularly about, we get complimented sometimes from people that come up here and look at this and go, "Wow, you guys really had a great plan, didn't you?" And I go, "Yeah, we had about 30 of them." They changed quite often. And but they've all had a lot of thought and input as to what size building, where does it go, why are we building it, who's going in it, and you got to provide infrastructure, roads, parking lots, all that. So it's evolved. And keep in mind, the Hunt portfolio is not just the west side of I-49; it's on the east side as well, for the most part. Not all of it, but a lot of it over there too. And I remember when the east side over there, just north of the mall, was the hot area, and everybody wanted to be there. And I kept trying to get people to be on this side by Pinnacle Country Club, and they're like, "Well, there's nothing going on over there. I don't want to be over there." So let me tell you something, because if you don't do it now, it'll be too late, because it's going to go in a flash. Well, sure enough, that's what's happened, as you've seen.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It really seemed like a lot of land, but it really wasn't that much land. And it went quickly, but
it's very just on the tenant side of things, it's very humbling to see, because I can't tell you how many late nights, I walked out of Design Steins, and I can remember doing it. I mean, heck, I can remember before the amp was built. I can remember before anything surrounding, because it's really weird to be able, used to you'd walk out and all you'd see is Mrs. Hunt's building and the KNWA building over there, and, wide open sky. And now you walk out and you see all these gorgeous, buildings with all these nice amenities. I mean, it's really, I tell everybody, they ask, man, you did a good job. It's kind of the same thing. It's like, you did such a, great forward thinking on this location. And so when they ask how long I've been there, I said, man, as it's nothing but the grace of the good Lord. I said, when we were moving, because we were coming from Belmont, which is, no slander to Belmont or anything, but we needed to, broaden our horizons. And we were looking at two areas. And at that time, everything was hot and popping over at Bentonville Square. People were buying up properties. They're 80 years old for $1 million, refurb them or demolishing them and doing the thing.
Right.
And then, honestly, it was a selfish move, because we love the location, the wide openness. One of our partners were moving in, and we love the access to the interstate.
Right.
And little did we know.
Yeah.
It's just insanity. It's insanity to walk out and see, our neighbors, Coca-Cola and Kellogg's and General Mills and PepsiCo. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But it's wonderful, though. And I love the fact, too, just the area, there's just about literally within this just small circumference, there's just about any amenity that you could want.
Right.
It's amazing.
That's been one of the keys to the development, is the proliferation of amenities. And let me say something, too, about Bentonville. That's been a great area. It's, we don't really compete. We're complementary to downtown Bentonville or the Bentonville area. It's more boutique-ish. It's more hip.
It's lovely.
It's very trendy, and it's got the square, which is people who come from all over the world see that square, fall in love with it. So it is tremendous. But, certain things for certain people. So we have what I call Main Street, Northwest Arkansas, I-49.
Yeah.
Right there, right?
Oh, yeah. That was one of our determining factors. That really was just the access to that. And our employees,
And we tend to have the bigger square footage size tenants out here. And one thing, too, I want to say also, and I know that Mrs. Hunt feels this way, and we do at Sage, it's not just us. There are other developers, and we're sitting in a building right now that's not owned by Mrs. Hunt. It's owned by somebody else of quality nature that builds good product as far as buildings, and there are others around here, too. So we all call them our partners, because we want them to build quality, and they do, because it's not just us. And so it's been... the Wisinvest and Chad and everybody else, John Smelzy, everybody's building really good properties.
Gorgeous area.
And so it's been a gem, not just for, we're in the city of Rogers, Rogers is proud of that, and we're proud of Rogers, but we're really more thought of as regional as far as all of the cities and towns here, because we're downtown Northwest Arkansas here, is what we are. And so we have allegiances to everybody here, because people that come work in this area, man, they live in Fayetteville, they live in Siloam, they live in Bella Vista, they live everywhere.
And from all over the country.
All over the place here. Yeah. So
great melting pot.
But the plan has been more of a work in progress, and there's still a few spots left. We just broke ground this week on the newest building, the Visionary, which is after Mr. Hunt's vision and Mrs. Hunt's vision, and Brian Hunt spoke so very well about his family and how the name, the Visionary, came about. But we've turned down probably more opportunities for retail and others in offices than we have accepted. Because we want it to be of a certain mix. We do like the amenities. We like the fact that if you need a bank, you can walk out the door and there's one somewhere right around.
Oh, yeah.
If you want to go play top golf, it's right there. If you want to go eat at a good restaurant, there's several to choose from here. If you want to go to a cleaner's, there's several cleaners. If you want to go to a florist, if you want to go to a hospital, a doctor.
Oh, yeah, it's all here.
The mall, the only mall in the area, the interstate. We've promoted that, and now we're adding entertainment venues. The AMP is here, and there's other entertainment venues coming into the area too. So we want it. And then we've started building apartments. We were part of the Pinnacle Heights development, and we recently sold it last year to another out-of-state group. But we needed more bodies here to live here to be able to, and as opposed to getting in your car and driving to one of these places, you can either get on a bicycle or you can walk to one of these places. And so now we've got people living here, and it has just made it more exciting that there are people here day and night. It used to just be daytime. And there are people here at nighttime going to Wrights or Walk-Ons or wherever. Again, I don't want to...
And everybody prospers for it.
Yeah.
Right. That's awesome. Well, let's shift gears real quick. So let's get into a little bit of mentoring territory. What advice can Tom Allen offer to the business professional? Very open-ended.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. And I don't have... I appreciate you asking me that question. The first thing that I tell my now adult children who are in the workforce now is that when you always be honest, no matter what it is. You'll be tempted sometimes to say something that you know is not completely true. Don't go there. Okay, no matter what the rewards you might get right away from saying something different, don't do it. And then don't always reach for the buck. Sometimes you have to sacrifice a little bit of easy money because it may not be the right deal. It may not be the right partner to partner with. It may not be the right thing to do. Ethics are big in real estate business, and I know in all businesses, so I shouldn't just say real estate, but keep in mind what others are going to think. I know you shouldn't operate your life like what other people think of you, but your reputation is golden. You can tarnish your reputation in a heartbeat, but it takes years to build up a good reputation. So those things that when we look at people to hire, we look at culture. Can they get along? Are they intelligent? Can they learn? Will they work hard? Are they loyal? Are they have a servant's heart? Things like that. But then study. Learn the business, and if you don't like it after a while, then I think you need to probably change because it's hard to force a square peg in a round hole. So if you don't like what you're doing and you've been doing it, if you did it a short time, you might develop an interest in it later. But if you've been in it for a long time and you just don't like it, you need to get out, most likely. So those are some of the business points. But other than that, be studious, learn your trade. And then one of the keys to success, I tell everybody, and it's hard for those that aren't extroverted like you, is to connect with people. Get out. Go have lunch. Join a civic club. That's how you serve. Join a charitable organization. And get active in your church or whatever it is, and get active with people, because at some point, we all like to do business with someone we know and we like.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you have the opportunity to do business with somebody that you know and you like, or someone that you don't know, if everything's equal, you're going to go with the one you like and the one you know. So it's going to pay off for you, even though that's not the reason you do these things. So
it's just a benefit of.
But the business points are really simple, as opposed to being able to be an expert in your field. But being an expert sometimes takes time. Some people are gifted to be really smart right away, and they can be an expert. I wasn't one of those guys.
Me neither.
But show dedication, work hard, show up, be available, and return calls, treat others as they'd like to be treated, and respect everybody, no matter who they are or what they are. We all have differences, and appreciate the differences. It'd be really a boring world if we all were the same.
Absolutely.
And I don't know, so you asked me a question. That's kind of how I answer it.
This is what we're going for. What about friends, Tom?
I don't know. I'd like to have some. Can you be my friend?
Consider it done.
Okay. Friends are I mean, it's vitally important. And sometimes I think that I work too many hours and I don't really nourish my friendships.
I feel the same.
And I've got
on me,
Yeah, and I don't know that I'm good enough at managing my time because I should be able to do that. I don't really have enough. My wife and I don't take enough time to go and have dinner with enough couples like I see others do. Mm-hmm. And I see others having that enjoyment. And as we get older, you're really going to wish you had some friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's important to take time to go. I do have a group that, thank goodness, they like me enough to invite me to go play golf with them, and I go play golf, and that's fun. Mm-hmm. But, I really like to need to have some common friends that your spouse, your wife, or your husband enjoy as well. And sometimes you don't have as many things in common with, for example, my wife's friends, but, you need to do that. You need to get to know them better. But friends are vitally important. And the way I work, I consider many people I work with my friends. That's who I spend most of my time with.
I hear you.
And so it's really a plus to be able to like the people you work with.
Absolutely. And you've got a great staff and crew. I mean, I have never been to y'all's office, and, it's always a nice, warm, inviting feeling from everyone.
That we are so blessed. We talk about that all the time as the whole group. I think we got about 60, 70 employees. And we get them together, and we like everybody.
Good culture.
Yeah, from the partner level all the way down to whatever the lowest level might be.
Is there a secret sauce to that?
We work hard at it and hire correctly, and just be open and honest with everybody in the company. Because even though we're all get along really well, and friends or associates or at least acquaintances, very different people, different backgrounds, different beliefs, different whatever, and that's okay. It's the spice of life, so to speak, but just be very transparent and always be willing to make fun of yourself. I do that a lot. I make jokes about myself all the time because I want people to know that, hey, I'm not too proud to know that I make mistakes and I've got all kinds of faults. And so don't be afraid. Anyway, friends and friendships are something that's really important to me, and I need to do a better job of getting more friends and cultivating those friendships.
I'm the same way. Sometimes I find myself wrapped into so many things that, I've got a little bit of a commute, and I'm on the outskirts of NWA, and I try to use that time to, touch base, but, I can't tell how many times I've thought, I have got to call that guy. The guy I've known all my life. I haven't talked to him in a month. Shame on me. But when you're busy, and wore out, that's another one too.
Yeah.
Business will wear you out. And a lot of people don't realize, and there's nothing wrong with it. I'm not saying people don't get tired or anything like that. But all I can say is, in my experience, when you've got so many irons in the fire, I feel brain dead sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's not always the best time to be having a conversation. But we should make it anyways.
Should. There are some really good people that I love tremendously, and I'm thinking right now because you asked this question, and if they happen to be listening to this, they're going to go, yeah, you need to call me. I've called you several times. And I know one particular that I really owe it to, and I talk about him quite a bit, and that I need to call him. And so if you're listening, you know who it is, and I'm going to call you because I think about you all the time.
Fair enough. Okay, so we got a few more minutes left, and I want to use our time wisely. So let's do a couple more questions. One, and not next to last one, excuse me. Tell me about family. Give you some advice on family, Tom.
You might ought to ask my kids about that because they give you the real honest answer, and my wife, for that matter. Well, family, I'm very, very blessed, and so I'll start at the top with my parents. My mother passed away from Alzheimer's in 2010, and very close family, and loved her dearly like anybody loves their mother. And that's why I have been involved with the Alzheimer's Association in Northwest Arkansas. I've not been able to dedicate as much time here recently to it, and I apologize for that, but it's just been the other side. My dad is still alive. He's 93, and I see him daily. We moved him up here from Little Rock a year ago this month to be closer to me and my wife and our kids. And so he's still the patriarch of the family, and he's had a few setbacks here in the last several months with falls and just some really serious health problems. But good news is the Lord's not ready to take him yet, and he's been rebounding and recovering and working with that. So just love and respect my father. My wife's parents are in Memphis. They're younger. They're just now hitting the late 70s. One of them's going to hit 80, but he races cars for fun. He's a retired architect, and
Oh, wow.
he's actually younger than me. So they're doing great. We just don't get to see him as much. Married to Christine Horrell Allen. She's from Memphis. She went to the University of Oklahoma, which near and dear to my heart, being all my family roots from Oklahoma. And I'm one of the rare Boomer Sooner and Razorback fans there are, so I don't understand the hatred between the two. I pull for both. when they rarely play each other, which now that they're always in the SEC, it's going to be a problem in the family, but we'll figure it out. But anyway, Chris and I have been married 34 years. Had 2 children. Matthew, who works with me at Cushman Wakefield Sage Partners as a broker associate.
Wonderful.
So he's doing and been really happy with Matthew and what he's become as a man. And he's seeing a young lady girl now that so I don't know what the future holds for them, but really, really happy for what he's going through. And then my daughter is married to a young man that the Lord blessed us to have a good son-in-law in Aaron. Anyway, we're blessed to have both of them living in Northwest Arkansas close by, and we get to see them, not every day, but we get to see them, every week.
As an experienced parent, what advice can you offer to young fathers?
Love them, boy. When your kids are young, take advantage of every moment. Take lots of pictures, videos, and just love on them as much as you can, because the world they're growing up in is a lot harder than what we grew up in. They're going to be confused with a lot of things that's hitting them. But patience and to support your spouse, because your spouse is going to get worn out. Both of them will, different ways, different reasons. But always be together. And then it's too many people do it today, and I'm sure we did too. Don't spoil your kids with certain things. You can spoil them with love and attention and be there for them, but you really need to teach them to do their own thing, their own homework. Make them do their homework. Don't do it for them. But to just be there for them. I mean, just provide them that stable foundation to where that they know that mom and dad has got their back no matter what. I had that with my parents, and it really, really helps me to this day. So love them. I'm a Christian. I would recommend you raise them in a Christian church, Bible preaching church. Doesn't matter what denomination, as long as they preach the Bible. I don't care about that. And I don't need to offend anybody else. I respect all walks of life, but that's just my recommendation. Love them. Love.
Awesome. Last question, Mr. Allen. What brings Tom joy?
What brings me joy is seeing joy in others. Truly. I don't need a lot, personally. First and foremost, I talk about this. I do lead a what we call a life group, the old Sunday school term at my church. And we need to, and I've learned this as I've gotten older. I didn't know it till really just a few years ago, but I told you I believe in Jesus Christ, and I believe that He's the Lord, and I go to church. I'm not actively a deacon today, but I'm on the deacon body there, inactive at the time in our church. But, we are to do things that are to glorify God. That's what our purpose is. That's what we do, whether it's work at business, closing that sale, hitting the home run, knocking the ball out of the park, whether it's serving the best cheeseburger to the customer, or whether it's whatever it is that we do. If you're an engineer and you're drawing something for streets, roads, sewers, whatever it might be, you do it to the best of your ability, but always remember that, we are nothing without Him. And so joy means first serving Him. And then secondly, He's full of love. And so I think that we need to make sure that we help others. I like talking to the people in our company about serving. And I like the fact that we talk about if you see somebody struggling, whether they're struggling with a spreadsheet at their computer, or whether it's the building engineer struggling to get a water leak stopped, whether they're struggling with an irate customer, if you can help them, help them. And it doesn't have to be your expertise. So joy comes in the fact of helping others. What can I do to help you? Okay. And then joy also in the fact that my family is taken care of, and that they have what they need. And I put myself, I don't always do that, but I try to put myself down the list as far as who's first and what needs to happen. Because if you're around a bunch of happy people and joyful people, you're probably going to be the same.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say this about Mr. Hunt. He was that way. And Mrs. Hunt. They love to help people. They've been a good example for me with that. My dad was the same way. He's been helping people all his life. And I think, and there's so many people, Matt, you're this way. So many people I know and bump into in this area have been that way. That's what makes Northwest Arkansas so wonderful, is that people are helping others for the most part. So that's what brings me joy, is just seeing people that are happy. And you can be happy and not have money. You can be happy and have a ton of money. And you can be unhappy and have a ton of money. So it's not always about that. It's just about are your needs being met, and are you waking up with a purpose every day, and are you pursuing that purpose as you would see fit?
Tom, I can't think a better way to end this interview. So thank you for being here, and thank you for your wisdom and your time.
Well, thanks for having me.
Pleasure, sir.
Thanks.